This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I have Jennifer Gligoric. Did I say that right?
You did. You did a very good job.
It tells me it's not pronounced that way in the country of origin, wherever that is.
It isn't. It's Serbian and it's actually Gligoric, but Americans it's Gligoric. That's how we do that.
All right, and our partner Brian Price couldn't make it this morning, but that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and proceed on, and we're going to be talking about asset protection and the basics that all real estate investors need for asset protection and beyond basics. First of all, I got to give homage to my sponsor, so give me a second here, Jennifer. I'd like to thank taxfreefuture.com. Please go to taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to talk to you about solo 401ks and 401ks and why you need one and what you're missing if you do not have a self-directed, tax-deferred or tax-free retirement plan or a place to grow your wealth without having to pay taxes immediately. So go to taxfreefuture.com. Watch the 37 videos. You will not believe what your you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you, and we're going to tell you why they're not telling you about it, and then you'll understand 100%. All right, I'm back with you, Jennifer.
Yay.
Hey, got to pay the bills around here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, asset protection. So, we'll start this out with you've put together a book called Asset Protection Basics for Real Estate Investors, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're in this business long enough, you're going to get sued, or someone's going to threaten to sue you.
Actually, people don't realize how prevalent it is because they usually wait until it happens to them. But we did an entire study. So we took the National Survey of the Court data. So last year, over 100 million lawsuits were put out in the courts, right? So that means every American has a 25% chance of being sued for something over some time in their lifetime. But if you're a real estate investor and you own just one additional property, like you have one rental house in your name, your chances of getting sued go up to 95% in the next 20 years. It's an exponential jump. And it's because it's so profitable for the people who are vexatious who do this to do that. So let's say you have two rental houses, one you have with your mom, and then one you actually have with yourself. And of course you have your primary home, and you're just like going to the store, whatever, phone rings, you look down for a second, you get into a minor fender bender. Okay, now their head hurts and everything else. This has nothing to do with your rental properties, but they end up getting a lawyer, and before you know it, that lawyer has put liens over all your houses and your property. Now, even if, let's say it wasn't your fault, let's say they slammed on their brakes, you had enough room, it wasn't really your fault, it was reckless driving on their part. They were the ones not paying attention. And you end up having to go to court, the judge brings down the gavel and all that. You're now out thousands of dollars, and you still have to take care of liens or settle or get them to pull the liens. And it's a process because you have to pay people to help you to do that. And it's all just because you put your properties in your own name. So people think about, oh, well, I need asset protection because of bad tenants, right? That's the first thing that comes to your mind. But that's actually not what it really is. It's all this other weird stuff that can come.
I've heard nightmares of people that sent the secretary out to go pick up lunch, and she got in an accident, and it was a work-related accident, and now the whole company, whether it be involved in real estate or not, is all liable now because she was actually working for the boss when she went to go pick up the lunch.
Right. And everyone thinks, oh, insurance will protect me from that. Well, no, insurance has very specific things, and then there are a lot of things they don't cover. So what we do is we hide it. They can't get it if they can't find it. So we provide the structures, and we're fans of the Series LLC or Delaware Statutory Trust. For the Series LLC, we pair it with the Texas Anonymous Land Trust because Texas is very a powerful protection state for businesses and individuals. And so you will operate things out of your LLC. You'll no longer write checks to contractors or your secretaries or anything in your own name. It all happens in your LLC. And then monies that come in go to that, and then they go back out. away from you. And there's all these arm's length clauses and things that happen, so that if you do get sued, there's nothing for them to get. That's really what asset protection is. It's not that some person can't, we can't stop people from suing you. What we can do is make it completely not worth their while to do it. Now, if you're shady and you're being all a criminal, it doesn't matter. They're going to get it. But to tell you how powerful our structures are, look at, and I say this a lot, but look at that jerk Epstein, right? They had the power and might of the United States government, the government of St. Thomas, the government in other countries, all converged against this guy, and they are still trying to pierce his corporate veil. And he was a horrible, demonic person doing awful, demonic things. So they're going to get you if you're bad. Doesn't matter how rich you are. Eventually, you'll get it. But for regular people who are not breaking the law and being bad, this is a it's the same type of powerful structure, and it can stop vexatious litigants. There are a lot of predatory people out there. There are predatory lawyers. Okay, so I live in Galveston, Texas, right? A little island here. And just to give you a thing how prevalent this is, the city of Galveston has some lots, and they decided, okay, what we're going to do, we still have some money from Hurricane Ike. So we're going to build we're going to build houses. We're going to call them low income houses, but people who would normally qualify for a house loan here. They have to work on the island. They cannot make more than $105,000 for their combined income, and they have to have a credit score of at least 680. So to try to build up our middle class, right? And they built very nice houses on stilts, so you didn't have to pay the flood insurance, 5 houses, right? And I know this because my neighbor works there. And so it's their property. There were no liens on that property when they bought it. They go to their first closing. Well, what are you going to do about these liens? And the city goes, what liens? Turns out this guy that goes around and he just files liens against people. It's literally like his job. And people are so desperate to sell or whatever, they will settle. And he makes an income out of it. Of course, he did it. Huh?
Legal extortion.
Basically, it's legal extortion. He games a paper system. Now the city is going after him. This is ridiculous, and they've uncovered how many times he's done it and how many people have ended up paying, blah, blah, blah. But that it's not just here. Now they're trying to enact different laws and things like that. But pretty much.
That doesn't solve your immediate problem if I got to sell my house today.
No, it doesn't. Now, if they couldn't find it, if ownership was underneath some veils, guys like that can't operate. So it protects you. It's a protective measure. They would have to spend money, time, and effort. And this isn't just a problem here. It's rampant. And it gets worse anytime you have people on TV talking about recession or things like that. Well, then people get desperate and they do crazy things too. So you really need to be protected ahead of time.
So just a side note or a little nugget. In my life, there is never a free and clear house. I mean, if I paid for something myself, then I loan it to my corporation, and my corporation has a debt back to me, because you need this debt, and the debt needs to be worthy of the value of the property, so that if someone does a frivolous lawsuit like this, you can at least foreclose them off. And if they want to pay the underlying debt, you're happy. So, I mean, I've helped a lot of people. I say a lot of people. I helped a person one time get out of a free and clear house by having them. I knew the contractor was going to run down and file a bogus mechanics lien. I had him run down, and they beat him to the courthouse, and they filed a pretty big lien on the property. And, he tried to extort them and tried to get them to do all this stuff to get the lien off. Finally, we just had to foreclose him off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Now, if they couldn't find the owner and it was all pierced under corporate veil, he wouldn't have been able to do it. He would have spent so much time in trying to find who owns what, where does this go, what does that go? Because he would have to literally prove why he's breaking open an anonymous trust. And then it's a little bit, then it's very different. Not that you can't be sued, but he would have to sue the operating company that wrote the checks. That's who he would sue. And then in discovery, there is nothing to discover. And then, You don't have to worry about any of that. It's a very powerful, in fact, legally, the Series LLC and even the Delaware Statutory Trust, if you have properties in California, Massachusetts, or Delaware, are considered the ideal protective structure for real estate investors specifically. And then, of course, we pair that with estate plans. And you're right. The solo 401k and self-directed IRA. Absolutely, you need one of those.
So,
But you have your.
I've been using land trusts for 2 decades. You know, everything's in a land trust or a personal property trust if it's a mobile home.
Right.
Is that the same thing as an anonymous trust?
No, because not unless it is paired with a Series LLC, because it's a little bit different structure. So what you have is you have your operating, what you write your checks for. So you have, 123 corporation, and then you have hidden protection 1, right? Trust. I don't know, I'm just making it up. Then underneath hidden protection trust, you have another LLC, and it is something completely different. And that's the parent LLC. And then there's these arm's length clauses. Then underneath the parent LLC, so you have one over here, and then you picture this one head and all these little branches under it. Underneath that parent, you have another trust specifically for that trailer or house. And underneath that trust is another child LLC. So now instead of 1, you are going from the trust to the seed to the other trust to the thing. And then you can have up to 16 legs underneath it. So it's very powerful, because if you have more than one property, you have all these little legs, and each one of them is considered separately. The thing that is different and what confuses, because this is a new legal structure. The LLC as an instrument was created in Wyoming in 1976. The first Series LLC was 96. So for lawyers, and like Alabama just now allows for the Series since 2005. So for many legal firms, it's still considered new to them, because they are very slow to adapt and slow to change. So this is considered cutting edge legal strategy specifically for these people. So the only caveat with that is it is taking the IRS a very long time to catch up. So your bookkeeping has to be very good. You can have one bank account underneath the parent, but you need to make sure that you delineate and on the checks and on the payments, especially in your back-end accounting, they are separated into each child entity.
So let's just talk
about very important.
A Series LLC. You used to have to go buy an LLC for every entity that you wanted to do.
Yeah, but that's like a house of cards, because your name's tied to it.
So now you can do a series, which means you buy, National Property Buyers LLC. And so there it is. And then you can, like, I want to do some apartments with this guy. You can open up a series, designate.
No, you'd open up a child underneath your series just for that.
Okay.
So the series has the other one. So you have the trust, then you have the parent, and then underneath that you'd have a child series that you're opening up with this guy, and that's got a different operating agreement, the different thing under that, different things. And you may want to get a different bank account for that. Many people have separate accounts, for them, just to add another layer of protection, because you have to be able to prove that these are separate, they operate separately, but it's a structure created for ease and also for asset protection. But it's still considered new legal theory. But yeah, you would have a child series underneath that one. Then you would, let's say, okay, well, I want to get 2 buy and holds. Each buy and hold would have another little child underneath. Then you have a flip.
Who's the child?
The child is, the child series is whatever you name it. So let's say you said, what did you say, National Holdings 1? So that you could say Nat Multi 8685 is the name of the child series LLC.
So it has nothing to do with a literal child. I thought you were putting it somehow.
No, we just call it the child because it looks like a parent LLCs has all these little children LLCs. What it is just other
LLC. It's the sub LLC.
They're like yes, like sub LLCs. That's another good way to say it. We always say child.
Find a kid somewhere.
No. No.
Okay, so you got the main series LLC, and then you got a bunch of sub LLCs underneath.
Right, but each one of them is their own LLC that's held under another sub trust.
Have you defended these before, or is there case law on these yet?
Yeah, there is case law, but there haven't had anyone that's pierced the corporate veil. It is the ideal structure. They haven't had any one of them that they've been able to break open. So that's why we are, I mean, I'm sure anything could happen if you do it wrong. But in Florida, there was one case because they would use their name. There was one case, but again, it was misinformation on the person who set it up. They didn't have the right information for their client, or the client didn't listen. You never know how that kind of works out. And so they didn't do the accounting correct. And they would interchangeably use the names when you can't do it. We are very specific when we educate the client. Okay, this is what you have to do. So it sounds very complicated because we're handling all the complicated part, but we make it easy on the accounting part. So you will know that when I take a check in, I will change that money, I'll put it here, and I just have to notate where it goes. If everything is separated in your accounting and how it goes into your banking, that is you creating the separation between them. If you're trying to mix and commingle and then have personal funds in it, and because people do crazy things that they're not supposed to, well, that's not going to protect you. You have to do your diligence too. You have to make sure, and this is very important, this is what gets people most messed up, no matter which structure they use, even if they just have a regular LLC, not a series, is they don't transfer the deed over. They have the structure, but then they don't, then they get a property, they buy it in their name, but then you have to transfer that property.
Yeah.
And to put the money in there. Some people don't do it. And then they're like, I thought I was protected. Well, no, there's things that you have to do.
The LLC to begin with.
That's right. Well, it's very difficult to buy things in LLC, especially if you're using your own credit, and it's more expensive that way, and many banks won't do it that way. So you can buy things in LLC. You can buy them in a trust, but very few people do it, and you don't have to do it. You can take it in your name and then you transfer it.
So you have a free 15-minute consultation where they can, like a discovery call.
Right.
And then there's an expert advisor, which is a full hour.
Yes, it's an hour with one of our expert real estate advisors. Normally it's $150, but Mitch strong-armed me. So he did not get it.
Fight for my people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a fighter. And if you put in Mitch Leafy 2019, there is a promo code and you can get it for $99. And the advisor will go over everything. So you'll have to bring all your paperwork. If you own it with someone else, that other person will be there on a video call. You're able to see the advisor, they're able to see you. And basically you put everything out on the table, and then we figure out the structure that's best for you and most cost efficient. How we do it, and how we're positioned in the industry, because there's other asset protection firms. You have places like LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer and stuff like that. It's all do it yourself. But they won't even offer the series LLC. It's too complicated, and there's no way you can do that yourself. So you can't even get these products by going there. Or you can go to a very expensive niche law firm that is owned by lawyers. Well, we're a legal services firm, so we're in the middle of that. And then we have embedded relationships with in-house counsel and outside lawyers. So instead of paying $250, $350 an hour for expert consultations and having lawyers to do everything, we have an entire legal team of paralegals and real estate experts and financial planners and people. And so we look it all over, your entire package, and then we take it to the lawyer, and the lawyer looks it over, and they can do it very quickly. So we're able to save people a lot of money. We've been in this industry for a very long time, working with other companies, and now we're back. There it is, Mitch Leafy 2019.
See how professional it is? I flew this GIF in, okay?
This is high tech, people. High tech right now.
Here, hold on a second.
Oh, he's gonna make it fancy. Look at you, Mitch.
Here, I'm flying it in.
This is high tech. You know what's hilarious is this is actually being able to do a video like this across the country. You know, just like what, 15, 20 years ago, this would have been like the height of all technology. You would need a satellite feed outside and all this other stuff like that. And
now we have the height of technology, and I'm like diminishing it.
Yes. And all we do is take our phone that has like the world's greatest knowledge, and I'm like, oh, look, cat videos.
Okay, so Mitch Leafy 2019, you get a for your
Mhm.
expert advisor. They'll spend an hour with you. They'll probably do some research for you or whatever, but
Mhm.
that's a lot of work. But they're also going to give you some sound advice. Regularly 150, but you can get it for $99 if you use that promo code Mitch Leafy 2019
Mhm.
2009.
Yeah,
And
just go to leafylegalservices.com. That's Leafy, Leafy services. No, wait, Leafy, Leafy, legalservices.com. And that'll take you right to our page. You can learn about us and book your consult and put in your promo code.
yeah, so you're going to go to, to make it easy, we're going to put all this stuff in the show notes, everything,
Mhm.
the promo code, the whole thing. And how do they get a copy of your book, Asset Protection Basics for Real Estate Investors?
They just go to leafylegalservices.com, and then at the very bottom of the page, a little thing will scroll up and ask them if they want a free download. You click on that, and then you can get it.
We're going to make all this real easy, though, because my people are used to going to investorsummit.com
Mhm.
/, and we're going to go to LEAFY. That'll get you to the show notes. You don't have to remember any of this stuff. It'll just be all over there. Just remember the promo code, the keyword Leafy, reinvestorsummit.com / Leafy. You'll get over there to the show notes, and we'll have all this stuff, links to everything she's talking about and the book. And so we'll make it easy for you. So give me some real life examples of how you've save some people from some problems without dragging us too much through the technical mud.
Well, okay, so I think this is not ours, but this was another thing that happened. There was this one famous case where, well, I'm trying to like get people's names off of it. Okay, I'm going to scrap it because I've used this story before, but we did have one that was similar to this. They bought a house that had been used for illegal activities, and they ended up, they did not know it. It was not disclosed to them. And so no one got sick. So there's a famous one where the family got sick, had to live in their,
About
live outside. Meth house. It was like in Washington State, and everyone got sued over that because the family couldn't even live in the house, but then they were stuck in the house because the disclosures didn't come, and the realtor got dragged in, and then all the previous owners. So number one, if you'd had a series, you wouldn't have gotten dragged into that. But this is another one that's like it. They didn't know. They didn't really get sick or anything like that, but they still sued, thinking, what if we could have? We should have known this ahead of time that this was there, because they had started getting visitors, and they thought they had kids, and it was a dangerous situation, and they probably wouldn't have gotten the house because of that. And they went back through who owned it and drug the prior owners into a suit, because each one of the people were saying, well, that should have been in your seller's disclosure. Well, no, I didn't know either. That should have been in yours. Oh, they tried to go backwards to blame like the original person who would never have known because they sold the house to people. So it all got kind of convoluted. So a thing like
the meth producer.
yeah, no, those people end up getting off scot-free. I have no idea why it works like that, but that's kind of how it works like that.
They were selling all that stuff.
Yeah. But we had someone who had the land. It was a weird deal in California. Some people will have the land and some people will have the house. They break it up like that in California. California is weird. And they were not drug into that because the land was actually under one of their child series. So that's how they were like looking at it going, man, I'm glad they grabbed me for that, because if they would have been grabbed, then they would have to said, well, did you have a, environmental testing and all the stuff like that you would need to have and something like that. So,
yeah. Or you just put in your disclaimer, you're buying it as is, where is, right?
mm-hmm. We had another, we have a podcast too, but we had a guest on, she bought on an auction for $10, and she was like, this is great. So she goes out there to a trailer and it had a huge sign on it, former meth house, do not go in, you're not allowed, it's a hazard to humans, whatever. And she ended up making several $1,000s on that by selling it on Facebook, even though it was like terrible. But it was just, she put the disclosures out. Yeah, they just lifted it up, and they had land, and she found somebody to buy on it, but she's still the company.
So I've been sued 3 times in my 2,000 houses in my 24-year career.
Wow.
That's outside of the normal suing people that I get drug into suits because I was a lien holder or something over taxes or something. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real dangerous lawsuits.
Yeah.
Every single time, the 3 people that sued me were 3 people that I tried to help get off the street, or they were destitute. You
That does
know,
not surprise me.
so I'm gonna give y'all a little nugget about charity here if you want. Um, so you know, people under bridges or homeless can't get Social Security and welfare and all that because they don't send that stuff to a bridge address. There is no address to the bridge, so they got to get an address. So I took it upon myself to get these people their social, get them an address, get them a place to live, get them their Social Security, get them their benefits and all this stuff, and they just pay me a pittance for this mobile home or whatever, and you can and now you're off the street and you have some subsistence and everybody's better off.
Right.
Well, they still didn't send me my money, and so at some point I had to foreclose. I was like, well, it's been months. I mean, you're obviously not ever going to pay me anything. You need to move out of my house. Of course, then they went and lawyered up with legal aid because they didn't have any. They're destitute. They're considered poor. So they get free legal aid, and they're dragging me through the court system, and I have to pay for my lawyer. And long story short, I won all 3 cases. I fought on principle, which will never happen again because there is no such thing as principle in the court of law. It becomes about everything that it isn't. You would have thought I was Hitler. You would have thought I was, I don't know, I was molesting these people on a daily basis somehow in the courtroom. It became about everything that it wasn't. I won all cases. It was very stressful. They always were suing for huge amounts of money. And it cost me $40,000 about each time to win. I won, always, but it's not worth it. So maybe one of the best rules before we even get to fighting is I should have settled with these people right up front. The first check's the easiest check, even though it was completely wrong. I felt like I was being completely done an injustice to. The mobile home that I won was in someone else's park, and it was a $6,000 mobile home. I should have just gave them the mobile home. That would have solved the problem. But at the time, I was still a idealistic young man and was going to fight on the principles. Learned very painstakingly that you avoid lawsuits at all costs if you can bear it, because they get out of hand very quickly. And sometimes, if you do enough volume, these things are going to happen. You also learn how to stay out of those positions. And this was the nugget. You don't do charity. If you want to do charity, go get your checkbook and give some cash or write a check to a church or something, your favorite. Do not do charity with your properties. It turns into a fuster-cluck. If you need a decoder for that, let me know. But it turns into a fuster-cluck. And there's a reason, and I don't want to sound politically incorrect or whatever, but there's a reason why a lot of these people are under bridges to begin with. And it's not your fault, and it's maybe not even be their fault. But there's powers that play, and you don't want to get mixed up in that stuff. So today, I do not, my houses are strictly business. You don't have exactly what it takes to get into this house with a down payment or whatever, then we're going to have to move along and wait till you do. When I do my charity now, I do my charity real easy. I just write a check or my favorite charity of my choice, and that's how I donate. And I don't use my business to do charity.
Yeah, no, that's actually very smart. That's part of, I agree with you. And I come from the person who used to live in a homeless shelter. As a teen, I was a pregnant homeless teenager. I ended up going to University of Miami, all on my own merit, like living in bushes, living in Covenant House is a shelter for if you're 21 years or younger. So I still will give to Covenant House. But the majority of the people I met were not like me. I came from a great family, but they all just went to pot right when I needed them as a teenager. And now if you met my family, you go, oh man, you must have a silver spoon in your mouth. You'd never know. And a lot of families go through that. They just go through really bad times.
At the same time, huh? Well, so yeah. I'm glad I prefaced it.
No, but those people, but I'm going to tell you, many of the people, you can give them a house, you can give them that, but they are not mentally able to care for it. They will get kicked out because they're hoarders.
They're broken somehow,
Yes, they need other help that we need to do, not to give handouts. I needed, and we don't do this anymore. But back in the day, I got to tell you, I was told a million times, we'll help you if you work, but if you lay down, and I'm like, man, how much more down can I get? Like a straight A student, I'm not on drugs. I'm not trying to do any of this, just everything went wrong. And I made this one bad decision that's made everything 100 million times worse. And nobody cares. You just have to get up and take care of it. That's your problem. You made a mistake, you fixed it. Well, I'm 17 years old, 16 years old, whatever. Well, so and I got to tell you, that has made me a business owner that has been revolutionary, because I have the power to fix anything in my life. And I've met other people in similar circumstances that have the power to fix anything in their life. But I am mentally and emotionally stable. If you're not mentally and emotionally stable, you can try to motivate. You can do a million things in the world that can't help them, because they have the inability to help themselves.
Sounds like you have to write a book in yourself. Have you written your memoirs?
I have written books. I have 2 books that I've written, but they were all business related. And I have given lots of speeches at places like St. Vincent's House, community colleges, and different things like that. And I get a lot of pushback with, not with Gen Z, but millennials. They're like, okay, boomer, shut up. I mean, and I'm not a boomer, I'm a Gen X. But in their mind, they don't want to hear it. They really feel like the world they've inherited is awful and whatever. And I try to say, nah, if you look back into history, it used to be a lot worse. There are so many opportunities.
Well, there's so many places worse you could be right this minute, like hundreds of places, thousands of places you could be. So, yeah. Well, that's very interesting, man. I hope that you take the time to write your memoir sometime, because someone needs to hear it.
Yeah, I should. It's just getting the time, where I'm really busy trying to help people protect their assets, because, I see it only takes 1 or 2 bad things to get most Americans, or most people, I met them, those families, and they were both working like 2 months before. And now they're like dropping their kids off at Covenant House, because that was the safest place, because only kids can be in there. And then the parents are going off to like Star of Hope or Salvation Army. And they were just in a place, but both parents lost their jobs. And it doesn't have to be like that. You can make smart decisions, use smart financial instruments. It's the poverty mindset makes you think about money a lot differently than we're supposed to. I fight it all the time. Save. You don't use credit correctly. You don't take the same chances rich or successful people take. There's a lot of things you can change, and it makes your whole world totally different and better.
You know what I like about this, what just happened? We went from talking about legal necessities and all that stuff to actually seeing a real person who's behind all this stuff. And I think that goes a long way into making people want to work with you, and be a part. So please go to REInvestorSummit.com/Leafy, Leafy. Get your free consult, or go ahead and take advantage of that promo code Mitch Leafy 2019 and get the expert advisor 1 hour, more in depth look at where you're at and what you should do. I think everybody should at least know. I mean, if you're not ready or you can't afford it at the time or whatever the reason is, at least get the consult and learn what you don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot more affordable than you think. And if you resonated with me at all, my whole team is like this. I mean, I work with people that I love. My entire team are people I know their story, I know who they are, and they all want to help people. So it's the entire company is just like me. We can help you. It may not be the most gold standard protection, but we can at least get you started so that you can take a couple breaths safer than you were before, or learn a new way about money or how you're saving your money to get you a little bit extra. We can do that.
All right. Well, anything else we need to say before maybe we wrap it up, Jennifer?
I can't think of anything other than happy Halloween, but it's going to come after Halloween. So I hope y'all had a great Halloween.
There you go. This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm so glad you stopped by to get you some Jennifer Gligoric.
Yay!
And And I hope you're achieving your goals this year. This year it's almost over, guys. I mean, we looked up and it's getting to be November. So, and I also want to thank taxfreefuture.com. Thank you. Please, you guys go to taxfreefuture.com, watch the 37 videos, learn about how powerful it is to have a self-directed 401k or solo 1k that's tax deferred or tax free. Don't split hairs with me. They might cost a tiny bit, but it's free, all things considered, if you do things a certain way. And I'm sure you guys know about those things too, right? IRAs and 401ks. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We love them. They're very smart things.
Yeah, so they're probably be an intricate part of your plan. If they're not, they need to be. If says humble, my opinion, Mitch Stephen. What do I know? But I say when you see what they can do, you're gonna like them. All right, so I guess we're out of here. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.